If you're on the second tab here, you found yourself on the Borrow screen. And the Borrow screen is where that information from the Manage tab is brought over, and we can go through and create our variety of different strategies. With well over 30,000 active client presentations, we've been able to constrain all of the key analytics that you might need for a client presentation and get it all on this one page. This is really critical when you're sitting there and thinking about how you're going to present information to the client, or if you're presenting to them live. Many of our customers are finding they're actually using this screen to tell a story and talk through the different scenarios with their clients. Now, if you're following us from our Manage case, you'll notice we have a mortgage here with Bank of the U.S. for $188,000. Let me just explain some of the things that you're seeing. This is the type of debt. This is the creditor. This is the loan amount, and if you have multiple liabilities, you're going to see a list here with the total loan amounts. This is their pre-tax cost of borrowing. This is their after-tax cost of borrowing. Most clients know if I have a 5.875% mortgage that I get tax benefits, but it's very confusing to explain what those benefits are. So what we do is we look at their current cost of borrowing, we look at their tax rate, and we just effectively work and create an imputed tax rate. They're paying 5.875%. But they're really after tax paying 3.878, because when they pay that 1408 or 148008 payment, 398 is coming back right now as an estimate in terms of their tax benefits. So if you pay 1480 and you get 398 back, you're really not paying 5.875%. You're paying 3.878% right now. And we even show the number of remaining payments. So this client has about 309 payments remaining today. So this will always be your scratch board to show your current liabilities. Notice what you see is what you get. You always have expansion and collapsion boxes. If I want to just compare scenarios side by side without comparing them to their current borrowing, I simply shrink up current liabilities. If I want to add a scenario, I expand it. That provides me more scenario capabilities across the screen below. But this scratch board area here is where you're going to build your presentations. If the client has a liability or multiple liabilities, with each individual liability you can decide yes or no, do I want to pay that off or not? So in this case with alternative 1, this is 10-year fixed. I'm going to go ahead and say I'm going to do a 30-year fixed for this client, and this is just my description box. So this is what I think is their we'll call this their good scenario. I mean, again, you can get as creative as you want to with your titles. Some people like to put in the product type. Some people like to put in a description like good, and we're going to call this one better scenario. And maybe I want to come down here and call this one the best scenario. All you're going to do is notice as you put these titles in, these are the titles that are going to appear at the top of each of the scenarios that you're doing for a client. So you have a $250,000 property value on a 30-year fix. This is my first mortgage and my second mortgage. LTV, you've got your front and back ratios. You've got all your LTV and pre-qualifying ratios right here on the screen. So you've got a 14 front and back because it's all the liabilities they have right now. They're currently at 75.2% LTV at 188. And it's going to pull in a default interest rate. Again, if you're working with us on an integrated solution with your LOS or CRM or your company as an enterprise platform, you may find that the product, the pricing, the interest rates, these things are all being pre-populated for you. If you're in an unlocked version, this is where you're going to come in and you're going to have that ability to come in here and edit everything yourself and handle that directly. So right now I can go through and see what I've got here is a 30-year fix at 75.2%, 188, 3.625. And that's what I want to show as a good scenario. Maybe a better scenario is I'd like to, I can copy that down. See, it says duplicate good scenario. I just click that. And what that does, it takes everything here and brings it down. I want to show them a 3.5. And maybe I'm going to show a quarter discount or something on that. And for the best scenario, I've got a 3.325 percent option for that client. So maybe I want to show one product and I want to show different interest rates. I could show three completely different products here. You can compare anything that you want to side by side. And again, I've got the up arrow and the down arrow. Notice I can just click the up arrow. And that's going to put the better scenario, and it's going to say better, good, best. And that's going to change all of this for your analysis below. So this is going to allow you to go through and sort things as you work up your scenario for your client to decide what looks best for you. How would you like to present your information? So right now, I've got my current and I've got my good, better, and best scenario. And these are my closing costs. My closing costs are going to pull from your defaults, and we'll show you where those are in a minute when we get into explaining these tabs over here. But this is just the borrow screen. This is where you can set up all of your baseline current closing costs for this particular client. Any of the additional taxes and stuff are all going to pull through and be carried for you in a refi. If this was a VA, FHA, USDA loan, I can click that here to expand that and cover those options as well. So let's say that on this particular scenario, I've got my base closing costs at $2,500, and I like that. On the better scenario, let's say there's going to be a quarter discount point. So I'm going to go ahead and click that and save that. And on the best scenario, let's say that they're going to pay a half a point discount. And again, this could be anything you can imagine. I'm just going through and showing you a way that you can start to build these presentations. So I've got 5,000, I've got 2,500, 2,970, and 3,440. And I've got 5,000 cash available. That's what the client says they have available. And that net cash at closing is 5,000, 2,500, 2,030, or 1,560. Everything's color coded. Green is good, red is bad. Green is good, meaning that's cash or cash flow that's staying with the client. Red means cash or cash flow is flowing away from the client. So this is cash that's flowing away for their closing costs, but they have 5,000 to start with. If the client said, I don't want to have anything out of pocket, then I can simply come up here, and there's a couple different ways I can address this. I can look at the closing costs that I put in here and say, let's include that in the loan. And we click Save, and now you'll notice the loan amount just increased. And when I come down here below, the $2,500 has been rolled right in. They're keeping their $5,000. None of that's being applied towards their closing. In this scenario, I want to include the closing costs and the discount points in the loan, and I simply click Save. And now you're going to notice in this scenario, all those closing costs have been rolled in again. I have 5,000 now, and I'm going to keep my 5,000 in all three scenarios. I don't have to come out of pocket. So I've got a little bit more discount points here, but I'm going to roll those into. And again, you can see I'm starting with 5,000 in my current scenario. In all three good, better, and best, there's no out-of-pocket expense. We're rolling this in. This has been scientifically designed to help you maximize your conversion rates based on a lot of information that we studied on how consumers make decisions and how you need to help them understand their options. The key initial barrier for a client moving forward is understanding their cash position at closing. Whether they're buying a house or refinancing, is their cash going up or down, and by how much? And you're always able to show whatever they have now. If they have zero cash today, how much is coming out of pocket? Are they comfortable with that? If they are, the next critical explanation needs to be around cash flow. Notice when you come to this page, almost all the important analytics down below are all calculated for you. Your only real job is to come up here and set up your scratch board to say, this is their current liabilities, and these are some of the different scenarios that I want to model for that client, and then the math is going to be done for you below. In the cash flow area, the client's currently spending $1,480 per month. This is calculating my base payment difference. If I go with a good scenario, my payment's going to be $1,166. That's improving by $314. The better scenario is improving by $325. The best scenario is improving by $342 a month. So it's showing me the difference. Green is good. Remember, that's positive cash flow. What you're working towards is a client who says, okay, I've got no out-of-pocket, or I know what my out-of-pocket is for a purchase. Secondly, what's the payment difference in each of these scenarios so that I know what my payment's looking like. It's getting better in all three scenarios, so I like that. And again, as always, if you don't want to show payments, you just want to show closing costs and financial impact, these windows, just like the other windows, can be expanded or collapsed. When you expand or collapse a window, not only is it not shown on this page, it's not shown on any of the reports or any of the other client-facing information. Tax adjustments. Some people like to show pre-tax. This is pre-tax. Some like to show after-tax. So if I expand the tax adjustment window, it's going to show the tax savings in each of these scenarios and the net payment difference on an after-tax basis. So some people like to get into the real net after-tax. If I'm paying 5.875 here and 3.325 here, then what I know is I'm going to have lower interest deductions. That's part of where the payment savings comes in. So this is really showing you that after-tax savings. For this example, we'll just do a pre-tax scenario, but that's how we toggle the pre-tax or after-tax. And this section here below is the most difficult to duplicate in terms of how you might duplicate it on a spreadsheet or using other calculators, because here what we're able to do is do a wealth comparison over time. Now your default is your fixed payment. You can go through and set this up any way you want. You can say, I want to fix it at $14,8008. That's the default. That's what they're spending today. The best way to show the client the financial benefits of the transaction is to show what they're spending today and can compare that going forward. If I spent the same amount in each of these scenarios, how much better off am I going to be? I could instead agree, I just want to do this on a minimum basis. I want to show this as the minimum payment for each transaction, and you can do it that way instead. You could also fix it at a certain amount. Let's say the client says, I want to pay $2,000 a month. That's what we're paying now. I can put in $2,000 a month, and we're going to apply $2,000 a month to each scenario across the board. So let's just say for now that we're going to use the fixed at their current payment, because that's what they're spending today. What's their time frame? How long do they expect to be in this house? And let's say they said 15 years is a realistic time frame. So we slide our slider out 15 years. You could ask how they feel about appreciation rates. If you're not sure and it doesn't really matter, just go ahead and make that 0%. And their after-tax savings rate. If they weren't putting the money in the house, they were putting in a savings account, what do they expect to earn? Now they might say, well gosh, I don't know, 2%, that's what we're earning in our checking or money market account. You can put in whatever the client feels comfortable using there. Or again, if in doubt, just use a 0%, because that way you're applying this to all these scenarios. In any case, you're always comparing apples to apples to apples to apples. Some clients like to save, some like to repay. I typically default to repaying, because what that does is it allows me to show the financial repayment impact of these decisions. In other words, the client's going to spend $14,8008 a month in each scenario. They have 309 months to go, as we saw above, on their current mortgage. They have 221. If they go to a new 30-year fix in our good scenario and they pay the same payment they're paying today, they have 221 months to go. If they go with our better scenario, there's 219 months. If they go with our best scenario, there's 215. The other key number here is wealth impact. Or think about it like cost of ownership. This is saying, is it going to cost me more or less to own this home over the next 15 years, going with this scenario, this scenario, this scenario, compared to what I'm doing today? And this is saying over 15 years, the good scenario is going to save you $66,951. The better scenario is $69,386, and the best scenario is saving you $73,025. Don't worry, all the math is being done for you. Those extra closing cost discount points are all reflected in your costs below. If you want to see where they are, you can break that out by expanding your payments, and you can see where other things such as closing costs and payments and principal payments are all reflected within the actual analysis here for the client. So everything is being calculated and considered in to the actual scenario. So on this page, I'm able to do all of my scenarios side by side for the client. If the client says, I really like the good scenario and the better scenario, I think I just want to go with the best, notice I can simply shrink this down and say, okay, so what you're telling me is based on what you're doing today, we're going to go with the best scenario. So you can shrink it and make it really simple for the client to see on their presentation. You're going to spend no out-of-pocket on the closing costs. You're going to save $342 a month, and we're going to put you in a position over the next 15 years to be able to pay that house off in 215 months, paying the same payment that you're paying today. If the client says, what if we paid $1,650? I could say, great. So we're going to go with the current, the best scenario, but you want to pay $1,650 a month. You could do that on your current mortgage, and you'd be debt-free in 234 months. But with your new mortgage, you'd be debt-free in 180. And the client says, that's awesome. We can be debt-free in 15 years. That's what we want. And you're going to propose this scenario. So you always want to check whichever scenario you're proposing to the client, because that's the default scenario we're going to use for your presentation that you're going to create earlier or later. So that's the Borrow tab. There are some advanced capabilities in the Borrow tab here, and you can notice that you can actually go in and do advanced repayment strategies with each of these by simply adding new payments and deciding are they at closing or a one-time or a monthly, etc. These advanced features are features you might use if you had a situation where a client said, you know, we're getting an inheritance of $50,000 and it's coming at some point in the future in about 3 years. So I can say, okay, so if you made a $50,000 one-time payment in 36 months, what would that look like? And I'm assuming that if you refinanced with us, you could also make that same $50,000 payment in 36 months. So you can get very, very creative in terms of how you build your scenarios, and notice everything just recalculated. So if you pay $1,650 a month and you made a $50,000 one-time payment in 36 months, you could be debt-free in 154 months versus 129. You're still better off, and you're still saving $34,334. Imagine how long it would take you to do that with a spreadsheet. All of these advanced capabilities are available for you right here in each individual scenario. You'll rarely need them. Most of the time, you're going to be simply creating your scenario side by side and deciding which scenario and how you would like to model that particular scenario for the client by either a fixed payment or using some kind of a specific payment, such as the minimum. If I were to choose the minimum, $1,480 versus $1,138, you're debt-free in 309 months versus 360. See, this makes it very clear to the client that if I free up $342 a month for you and you spend it, because that's that difference. See, I can see it right here. Here's my payment difference, $342 versus $1,138, and I spend it, it's going to take me 30 years to pay off that mortgage. All right, you can do the same thing with the $1,480 and say you're going to spend $1,138 and you're going to make an extra payment of $342 monthly, starting in month 1 until the loan is paid off. And notice what happens. You're now spending $1,138 plus the $342. This is just another way to show the same thing. You're debt free in 215 months, saving $73,024. It's an amazingly powerful tool and incredibly simple and easy for you to use. Everything you can just about imagine illustrating, you can illustrate on the Borrow page with multiple scenarios for your client. So I'm going to expand the good, better, best here, and then what we're going to do is, if you're following this along as a training, we're going to go to the Present tab. If you're on the Present tab separately, you'll see just the information for that page. But we'll continue this across in this format.